After completing this course, you'll be able to use parametric tools and extrude features to sketch, then model the knee bracket design. You'll create and thread holes for fixings using rectangular pattern features, and finally, you'll apply physical materials and appearances to the bracket design. So now we're going to build the knee bracket, which will connect to the outer socket body. Later, we'll also build and connect a knee joint to the knee bracket. In the browser, let's turn off the visibility for the inner socket and the inner socket liner bodies, leaving only the outer socket body visible. In the toolbar, click Construct, Offset Plane, and select the ground plane to work on. Use the view cube to rotate to the right hand side and turn on the visibility for our inside profile canvas in the browser. Use the arrow to drag the offset plane downwards by 40 mm. Then click OK to close the window. Then use the view cube to navigate for an underside view, and we can sketch a rectangle on our new work plane. In the toolbar, click Sketch, Rectangle, Center Rectangle. Select our new work plane. From the center origin, click once and drag out. Then enter 60 mm on the keyboard. Tab, enter 60 mm again, then press Return. Now we've got a sketch of a square, and we can extrude that sketch into a form. In the toolbar, click Create, Extrude, then select the square profile sketch. In the dialog window, ensure that the operation is a join operation, and for distance, select Object. This will allow Fusion to join the new bracket to the outer socket body. If we orbit around, we can see that the new bracket body is joined onto the outer socket body, and it doesn't protrude through. So we can click OK to close the window, and if we zoom in closer, we can see the new bracket. But we need to tidy it up a little bit, and I'm going to add some fillets to the edges. So in the view cube, click for a left view. Then in the toolbar, click Modify, Fillet. Drag the selection window to select all of the bracket. Then in the dialog window, enter radius value for the fillet of 2 mm. And if we now orbit around the bracket, we can see the change that fillet's made to the edges. Smooth them off really nicely. So click OK to close the window. Now select the lower face of the bracket. Then from the toolbar, select Create, Hole. We don't need to worry about where we place our holes at this point. We'll dimension them off properly in a moment. For now, choose Simple Hole, ensure that the depth of the hole is 25 mm, the diameter of the hole is 8 mm, then click OK to close the window. Now we can position the hole correctly by dimensioning it off the edges. In the timeline, right-click on the last action, which is our hole, then select Edit Feature. Select the lower face of the knee bracket for the face point, and we're going to use the edges for the references. Click the first edge and enter 10 mm, then click the second edge and enter 10 mm again. Click OK to close the window, and that's our first hole complete. 8 mm hole, which we've dimensioned 10 mm from the corner. And we can now pattern this hole to create the other 3 holes, which is what we're going to do now. To do that, click Create, Pattern, Rectangular Pattern. And we're going to pattern this feature. In the dialog box, I need to make sure that I set the pattern type correctly. So I'm going to select Pattern Features. We need to select the object that we're going to pattern, which we select from the timeline, and that's our last action, which is our hole. And then we select the direction that we want to pattern, and click to pattern this way. I only want to make 2 holes in this direction, so I select 2 for quantity. The distance between the holes will be 35. And I can drag the arrow, or I can enter the information directly here or in the dialog window also. And if I select and drag the arrow on this side, I can also pattern the holes in this direction. I can set the distance to 35 mm and the number of holes to 2. And when I've done this, I can click OK to close the window. And now we've got our 4 holes on the base of our knee bracket. And in Fusion we can also thread them. If we select the inside face of the hole and then click Create, Thread, we can apply a thread. In the dialog window, check Modelled, then click OK to close the window. Let's repeat that process for the other 3 holes. Select the inside faces of all 3 holes, click Create, Hole. The settings are the same, so just click OK to close the window. And that's our knee bracket completed, with 4 8 mm holes which are threaded and ready for our knee joint to be fixed to the outer socket.